we're going to get started here today with a great business idea.
All right, so this is an idea that we discovered through the week. We've spent a couple hours researching it, so let me explain the background. So here at Codebase, we have about 2,000 resumes that we're filtering through right now.
Yeah.
Our Codebase.com is built on WordPress, and what we want is an applicant tracking system that's a SaaS application. It makes it really easy to sort through 2,000 plus resumes and keep track of the progress. And I want it to integrate perfectly with WordPress. Now, what we discovered is there's two options out there, and neither of those are that. So the example is, you're the SEO expert. From an SEO standpoint, one, like what Zoho does is they give you an iframe, and we'll show you an example here where they just install a widget on your site, and that doesn't help you with traffic. So like if you're listing 10, 20 job applications in a month, you want to start ranking for that content and have Google crawling it. And an iframe, it doesn't do it that well, correct?
iframe is just somebody else's site that you're putting on your site.
Yeah, so that doesn't help. Then there's other sites like Bamboo HR and Taleo where they'll give you a subdomain, like you could create like jobs.codebase.com. Again, it's a separate site. And so what we want...
Kind of. I mean, Google's actually getting a lot better at the subdomain. It will give you a lot more value than having it on somebody else's domain. But subdomains are genuinely recognized as a separate, kind of like a brother-sister relationship, if putting it in easy terms.
And I've talked to a few HRs and they say they don't know this exists. But basically, when we list a job for a developer position in Pune, I want that to be a native page in WordPress, codebase.com/career/Pune/Python developer.
Okay.
And you can't currently do that with the applicant tracking systems we have. It doesn't mean it's not out there.
Yeah.
But we then reached out to Ben Martinez. He focuses on recruiting, and he says he doesn't know of anything either.
I don't know of anything.
So what do you think about this idea? The space?
I think it's a good idea. I think the hiring space is an interesting space. Right now, it's an interesting thing. I don't know how many people would specifically care to have it directly in WordPress. I think some would not. I think when you're hiring, most people have just gotten accustomed to putting up an ad on LinkedIn, putting up an ad on Facebook, or doing some Twitter this or some ads, or getting a local software and just complying to it. This is actually taking a little step further on that. I think it's a good idea, especially I think it's a really good idea if you're a WordPress developer and know how to develop plugins and can actually build this very quickly.
Now there are plugins for $49 on Envato. That's what we're currently running. There's a plugin, but we spent $300 or $400 over the last 2 weeks running ads for 5 positions. And we have 2,000 applications.
Yeah.
And right now those applications are on LinkedIn.
It's just becoming a nightmare overall to really filter through anything and get any real data out of it.
Correct. And sometimes we hire a bunch in a month and sometimes we don't. Whereas if we use like a LinkedIn recruiter that only works on LinkedIn.
Correct.
And that's $1,000 a month.
Yes.
Where ultimately, like I would see you would create like a hub that would go to, like we publish on a site called Naukri. That's India's tech job board. You might be publishing to Monster or some of these others. But if it also could post natively, like perfectly on our website.
Yeah, if it could integrate with WordPress, that would be awesome. Again, for a business idea, I think it's a really amazing business idea. If you're a WordPress developer or if you're used to the WordPress platform, if you haven't done anything on that before, I would maybe not suggest you go in another way or find another business idea, but I would really focus around what you know best. Don't try and reinvent the wheel when you don't even know how to work a hammer.
Yeah, so I think this would be an easy test. I don't know how big the market space is. I don't know how many other people are out there, but WordPress is one of the largest website platforms.
Yeah, WordPress controls 60 to 70% of the internet. I think it's like 65-ish. So
yeah, I think the biggest concern I would have about starting this idea, so one, I'm fully busy. I don't have time for another idea.
Yeah.
My biggest concern, I think, is that I see this very much as a feature. If you started getting traction, the big sites will come after you. But there's this catch-22, and you would understand from an SEO perspective, because like if you're Taleo, you want all of that Google juice to come back to your site. I think on purpose are just doing what's best for Taleo and driving traffic to Taleo.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's just for Taleo. Taleo is also thinking of their customer and thinking most people aren't technical and, this is one line of code. They can put it on their website. It's on your website and you can direct people to that as much as you want. Versus WordPress, you have to go into WordPress. You have to find the plugin install the plugin, then customize the plugin, then add all the information. They just have a lot more dialed in. If you're building this idea, you would get there, but it might just take a little while to build it.
The thing I like about this also is this could be one of those niche ideas where, maybe it only makes 10 grand a month, but that could be 10 grand if you're a developer or you and a developer friend.
You guys, even if it's $500 a month, if you're a developer and can build this really quick and put it out there, and that's an extra $500 of income, I mean, that's huge. Just to bring it out, like not going on like numbers or too much on a rant, but did you guys know the average American goes bankrupt over $62 a month? Because 62 turns into 150, because it's 62 plus 62 plus interest. That's month 2. Month 3, you're looking at like almost $300. After like 5 years, it's just become so exponentially out there. I mean, an extra $500 is great. 10,000 is pie in the sky. That would be awesome. And I think this idea totally has wings to easily make an extra 10,000. But even if it only made an extra $500 a month, you guys, that is money in your pocket every single month, and I'll never discount that.
Yeah. Now, as far as, I don't know how big this idea could go. I think you could build a pretty easy application where you could get to 50, 60,000 a month. I think you would have to do a lot of maybe market validation to figure out how much bigger of an idea is it. This is definitely not a $100 million idea in my mind, in case you're wondering if you want to build something and sell it.
I think it could pivot into $100 million, but the idea I think is more like $1 million idea, maybe a $2 million idea. But if you started actually building that and growing it to an actual company and got some revenue coming in, I mean, you could listen to your customers, find out what they want, find that they want help on recruiting, help doing this, integrations with all these other different things, and build it into an actual bigger business.
I think the other thing you could also do is, if you're talking about like a job board or an application, focus on localizing for specific countries or regions. So in India, we're using very different job boards than you would here in the US.
Correct.
And so as far as being competitive, like Taleo, I'm pretty sure they don't even care about Naukri, where in India, it's like the tech job board.
Yeah, with this, especially in the beginning, you could easily customize the software, build an open API where you can integrate with all these wonderful platforms out there in all the different companies. I mean, that's in India, but think of Brazil, Africa,
Antarctica.
Yeah, I'm sure there's developers or people to be hired in Antarctica. In every single country out there, there are people looking to be hired.
I've got the rise for Antarctica.
All right.
So that was the idea that happened this week from like a real need that we were focusing on. Yeah, and so the reason I'm not doing this is you've got calendar.com.
I'm too busy.
I'm too busy.
We just like you guys, when you're out there and you're exploring other ideas, always keep your mind open. Even if you're focused on a project, keep your mind open to other ideas. It doesn't mean you have to focus on those ideas. It just helps you be more creative. The more creative you are, the more creativity you'll bring back to your business.
All right. Well, thanks. And you guys should go nail this idea.
Boom.